Call the Owatonna City Council meeting to order for the first meeting of 2014, and with that, we'll ask for roll call.
Councilmember Dotson.
Here.
Schultz.
Here.
Burbank.
Here.
Rainey.
Here.
Svenby.
Here.
Trulson.
Here.
Abraham.
Here.
And Mayor Kuntz.
Here.
We have all 7 of the council and they're present.
Thank you. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight, and with that, we have no changes to the agenda, so we'll look for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So move we approve.
Motion by Raymond to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Greg Schultz. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda has been approved. We'll move on to our 2014 organizational meeting. And with that, we'll start with appoint council members to board commissions, and we'll go to Chris.
Thank you, Les. Earlier tonight, we met in a study session to review, and we do this every year, to review council committee assignments to see if there's any changes that need to be made. We had just a couple. We are removing Nathan Dotson from the EDA and adding Brent. There's just a switch there. Brent Swenby to that board. And we're removing Brent from the Law Enforcement Center board. Other than that, the changes, other than those changes, what you have before you in your agenda is what is recommended.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the council?
So move we approve the assignments.
We have a motion by Raymond to approve the changes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Dave Burbank. Any further discussion there? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved. And we move on to 1.4.2, Resolution 1-14, designate depositories. Chris.
Thank you. Each year, what we're doing is the organizational items that we have to do each year at the beginning in January. And one of the things the Office of the State Auditor recommends is that the city annually designate depositories for the upcoming year and formally appoint those individuals who are authorized to disperse funds. So this resolution authorizes the mayor, city administrator, finance director, and senior accountant to disperse funds through check, electronic transfer, wire, or ACH. There's basically no changes. We did update and add one entity, Vining Sparks, to our list. Staff would recommend approval.
Thank you. Questions from the council?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Brent. Do you have a second to that?
Second.
Second by Greg Schultz. Any further discussion there? Greg.
The resolution lists 3 names right now. Did you want to add a 4th one? Is that what I heard?
Yes, we should add the senior accountant as well. Should be on the resolution. Would be Sandy as our new senior accountant.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved also. Now we move on to Resolution 2-14, designate responsible authority for data practices 2014, and we'll go back to Chris.
According to the Minnesota Government Data Practices Act, the city must annually designate an individual responsible as a responsible authority, and typically I have served in this capacity and would recommend approval of the resolution designating me as such.
Thank you, Chris. Questions from council?
Move to approve resolution number 2-14.
Motion to approve by Greg. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Brent Svenby. Any further discussion there? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved also. Thank you. Now we move on to 1.4.4, change meeting dates for January 2014. Chris again.
For 2014, we have a couple of dates of our council meetings which conflict with other activities. The first August council meeting coincides with the National Night to Unite activities, and the first meeting in November coincides with the general election. So historically, we have moved these meetings to the Monday prior to the Tuesday, and so that's what we're recommending here. If council wishes a different date, we certainly can do that.
Thank you.
So move we approve the recommendation.
Motion by Raymond to approve. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Nate Dotson. Any further discussion there? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved also. Moving on to 1.4.5, designated Owatonna People's Press as the official newspaper for the City of Owatonna for 2014. Again, Chris.
According to our charter, we must designate a newspaper of general circulation to be our official newspaper for publication of all matters such as resolutions and ordinances. And so we are recommending the Owatonna People's Press be the designated newspaper for the City of Owatonna and recommend approval of the resolution.
Thanks, Chris. Any questions from the council?
So we approve.
We have a motion by Raymond to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Kevin Rainey. Any further discussion there? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved also. Moving on to 1.4.6, appoint Fire Chief Johnson as weed inspector for the city for 2014. Chris.
This is another one of those annual designations, and this duties of the weed inspector have been fulfilled by the fire chief, and we would recommend approval of the ordinance, or of the resolution, pardon me.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions from the council? What is the council's wishes? Motion by Brent to approve. Do you have a second to that?
Second.
Second by Dave Burbank. Any further discussion there? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved also. Thank you, Chris. With that, we'll move on to the financial report and do a quick recap. $20,721 for Chris Engineering for plow blades. $21,388 for Owatonna Heating and Cooling for HVAC unit. $51,877 for Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities annual dues. $32,880 for R&K Electric for generator and that's 75% grant reimbursement. $35,987 for Wenzel Construction for Harbor Oil Company pipe relocate and $303,553 for other expenditures for subtotal of $467,587, and to that we add Section 8 payments for November 1st, $67,484, for a total of $584,872. What is the council's wishes? Raymond.
On the generators, Chris, where was that used at, R&K Electric?
Generators were installed at the street department and also at the airport.
Well, the street department used generators. What are we using them for? The street department, a generator at the street department. Is that used for backup for that building then?
Yes. Yep.
I would make a motion, we pay the bills.
So a motion by Kevin to approve the bills. Do you have a second to that?
Second.
Second by Nate Dotson. Any further discussion there? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved. Now we move on to the consent agenda items, which are a collection of minutes of meetings, permits, reports, etc., all grouped into one motion. And what is the council's wishes there?
Motion approved.
We have a motion by Dave to approve. Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Second by Dave Burbank. Any further discussion there? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved also. Moving down to action items, and the first one is Resolution 3.51, Resolution 1314 to set and adjust assessment interest rates, and that will go to Chris.
I believe council would like to table this till later after bonds are sold and for projects so that we may set the interest rate at that time.
Okay.
So move we
Motion to table?
So to wait till later.
Okay, that means
I'll make a motion to table it.
that means a motion to
Yeah,
table.
that's what I did, yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion to table until bonds are approved.
Right.
Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Second by Greg Schultz. Being it's tabled, there is no discussion, and with that, what is the council's wishes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved to table until bonds are issued. Now we'll move on to Resolution 14-4 or 4-14, set date for public hearing for revenue note for South Central Human Relations Center. And there we go to Chris.
Thank you, Les. We have Ben Johnson here from Kennedy and Graven. He's our bond attorney who is assisting the city in this conduit financing. I'm going to let Ben explain.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the council, Councilmember Abrams, Mayor Kuntz. Nice to be back here in front of you. For the record, Ben Johnson with the law firm of Kennedy and Graven. I serve as bond counsel to the city, so for the general public, we help the city with the legal matters related to any borrowing the city does for itself or on behalf of nonprofits. What you have before you is a resolution similar to ones that you've had before for the Brooks on St. Paul, financing for Ecumen or the countryside, or for Kids Corner back in 03 and 07. It's a resolution that would grant preliminary approval to the proposal to issue conduit revenue bonds for South Central and to set February 4th or such later date as determined by the city administrator for a public hearing. That public hearing is required by state law and federal law. Nonprofit organizations such as South Central can use the city as a conduit to borrow money on a tax-exempt basis for capital projects. And so that's what the proposal's before you. Like I said, Kids Corner's done this, Ecumen for a couple of facilities. The city also issued a note to a bank for part of the SCCL project for the joint facility with Benedictine up at the hospital, the new nursing home facility. Similar financing mechanism. Here the city would be purely acting as a conduit. No tax dollars are pledged. If there's a problem with the payment, the bank that's proposed to buy this note, which is United Prairie Bank, would foreclose on the facility or take such remedies against the borrower as they choose, but would not have the ability to go after any city revenues or any city tax dollars. And I think that's the short version. What's proposed in this financing is to refinance a 2002 note the city previously issued for South Central. That note has about 10 years left on it, and they can get some debt service savings. There's also a taxable loan for South Central's Safe Harbor facility, adult treatment facility, which was built in 2012 and was funded on a taxable basis. The resolution before you also says construction of a new building on their campus and improvements to their existing building. It's my understanding that the new building has dropped off, and they're going to merely utilize about $1 million of the proposed borrowing to improve their existing facility. Carolyn Wheeler's here, the executive director, and Steve Fenlon, who's their transaction consultant from Midwest Healthcare Capital, to answer any project-specific questions or things like that. But I want to reiterate for the public and for the council that if there's a problem on this, that there's no liability or obligation of the city. The city would be acting as a conduit, and that's also expressed in the memo that I wrote that I think was included in your packets.
Thank you. And today we're basically just setting the public hearing date.
That's exactly right. Councilmember Abrams, the resolution before you, although it says preliminary approval, it also says that it's not a guarantee or a firm commitment of the city, and you'll take input at the public hearing and see the financing documents and take up a resolution to consider final approval at a later date. So this is absolutely does not obligate the city.
Thank you. Greg, you have a question?
In light of the fact they do not plan on building the new building, will this be changed to $1 million instead of $3.2 million?
No, Councilmember Schultz, it will go down a little bit. I don't know the exact numbers yet. I'd like to keep the number at 3.2 because under federal tax law, the number that's in the public hearing notice we can't exceed really. So I think it's about $1 million. They've also got the safe harbor refinancing. They've got the refinancing of the existing note. So I don't have an exact sizing yet. What that allows us to do is issue up to 3.2.
My only concern is there's a $10 million limit in this early in the year for us to commit a third of our funds. And I'd like to see that number go down.
Yeah,
if that's not going to be used.
Councilmember Schultz, whatever the final amount is issued will be the amount that counts against the $10 million limit, and that's the bank qualification limit that people talk about. The city can issue whatever debt for capital projects under state law that's authorized. You could do various projects. The city's traditionally a fairly conservative borrower itself and traditionally stays well under that limit. So if they end up issuing $2.3 million or something, that's what goes against the limit, not what's in the notice. Also, the notice is to give people an idea of what's going on. Also, we do put provisions in the documents so that in order, if there is a problem later in the year, say there's an unforeseen issue, and the city has had a few of those with flooding in the past, that there's a reimbursement mechanism where if the city has to issue bonds that they don't anticipate to deal with a crisis, or the public works building gets burned down, or there's a whole myriad of possibilities here, that there's a reimbursement mechanism for the nonprofit to reimburse the city for any lost savings as a result of any bonds in the future being non-bank qualified.
Raymond.
You say it no obligation to the city. What about your fee? Where does that?
Councilmember Trulson, great question. Our fee is paid by the borrower.
What's that?
Our fee is paid by the borrower.
Okay.
On these conduit financings, although we represent the city and we're the city's bond counsel, the borrower picks up the tab. When the city issues its own street bonds, obviously the city picks up the tab, but on these pass-throughs, the borrower picks up the tab.
Chris said we hire you. That's why I was trying to put that together.
The city will not be getting a bill from us.
Any other questions from the council?
Do we need to say a date?
Again, this is February 4th is a public hearing date for this.
And I will be back down here for that and able to answer questions of the public if there are any.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to
approve. We have a motion by Nate to approve. Do we have a second to that?
I'll second it.
Second by Raymond Trulson. Any further discussion from the council? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have the date set for February 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to be in front of you again.
Thank you.
With that, we'll move on to public comment. If anyone wishes to speak on issues not on the agenda, please come forward. We ask you to limit it to 2 minutes. Seeing none, we'll move on to council comment, and we'll start with Nate.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. And Chuck and Greg.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Dave.
Echo that. Happy New Year.
Kevin.
Happy New Year, and winter can't last forever.
Brent.
Happy New Year, though.
Raymond.
I think it should be mentioned that the mayor is going to the State of the Union address, and I think what an honor for us, city, and him to represent us there. How often out of the whole area we've been selected, our mayor, to go to that, and I think it's a real honor. And so I just think it should be noticed to the people in the community how that Tom is, what he's done for our community and stuff. I'm just glad he can get to do what he's doing for that. So thank him for that.
Thank you. And with that, I'll go to Utah.
Well, it is a great opportunity, and I really thank Congressman Walsh for the invitation, and I look forward to the State of the Union.
Thank you. Chris?
Just a quick reminder, we're having our strategic planning session coming up next week on Monday the 13th and 14th. It'll start at 4 p.m. at OPU at the Board Commission Room. And then on Tuesday, we'll be in the Art Center from 2 to 5.
Thank you.
Okay?
And I also wish everyone a Happy New Year. And with that, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Kevin Rainey to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Greg Schultz. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Stand up.
Thank you.